Welcome to the Australian Weight Loss Surgery Podcast, where every 2 weeks we explore all the aspects of the weight loss surgery journey. You'll hear from a range of experts including bariatric surgeons, psychologists, patients and dietitians sharing up-to-date informative advice to help fast-track your long-term weight loss success.
So welcome Kate Save from Be Fit Food. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Jacqui.
It's great to have you here on this sunny and chilly Friday afternoon. So thanks for giving up your time. Be Fit Food, how long have you been established? When did that all start for you?
So around 6 years ago now. So Be Fit Food was started by myself and a weight loss surgeon, Dr. Jeffrey Draper. And we basically had been working together for almost a decade when we decided that we needed to look at alternative solutions for rapid weight loss rather than just putting all of the patients pre-surgically on bars and shakes diets. And that was a learning that came about probably 2 years into the practice when we recognized that after people had had weight loss surgery, sometimes they were regaining the weight. And when we tried to get them back onto a healthy diet again, most of them actually didn't like healthy food or hadn't eaten really well or a really good diet or even just had that dietary education a lot of the time at all, or certainly not within the last decade. So we thought, why don't we start people on a healthy rapid weight loss program before weight loss surgery so it's fresh in their mind, it's something they've practiced, and then post-surgically they can continue on these small nutritious meals and practice what really or truly is healthy eating and whole food eating as opposed to synthetic bars and shakes and chocolate flavored things that I just don't think is setting people up for success.
Absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there with this process of education and changing habits. And I see a lot of the default for when weight is being regained is to do the shakes diet again and, replace a few meals every day with a shake. And I just think it's kind of the yo-yo back again in a lot of ways.
It's a traditional diet, isn't it? Like diet is a dirty word because it doesn't actually work. And, when you're putting people on chocolate shakes and you expect that just by restricting calories, they're going to learn to be healthier, how is that changing their mindset or changing their gut microbiome or changing their behaviors other than giving them that pleasure of the chocolate milkshake? So we wanted to set something or develop a program that was there for more long-term success. And the best way to educate someone is to get them to practice actually doing it.
And absolutely starting that before the surgical date. I see a lot of people who are also waiting for that date before they start anything. I don't see why, if you've got a 4-month lead up or you get your surgery date and it's out into the future, it's a great time to start practicing that, new lifestyle and new understanding of food and, what goes in on a daily basis. It's a great, and I think when someone can put it together as well as you have, it teaches what food looks like and, what a whole day might look like as well, which a lot of patients are asking that question is, what does a day of food look like? Whereas with the Be Fit Food program, I think when it arrives, you absolutely know it's, breakfast looks like this and it's, a serving and understanding what a portion size looks like and that sort of thing. It's something that patients are totally thrown into the deep end, looking at new ways of putting a meal together. And I think if you can see at least a template of it for, even 3 to 6 months or even 3 weeks of it is just a bonus to see how it all appears.
And they can get healthier for surgery too. So part of the benefit starting before surgery is let's prep them not just mentally and educate them, let's physically get them into the best shape they can be for what is life-threatening surgery. And, any surgery is dangerous and all surgery has its risks. And yes, the surgery is probably worth the end result, but you want to go into it knowing that you did everything you possibly can to give yourself the best chance at, everything going well. So we see Be Fit Food as something that can help improve people's health as well as shrinking the liver and getting a bit of weight off. But for that health change, mentally, physically, and even emotionally, empowering people that you can eat good food and get success, because because a lot of people give up on food-based diets because they think they don't work. So giving them
that's exactly right. And it's looking at the longer term vision, I suppose, as well. What role do you think the whole foods play in the first weeks in the post-surgery?
Oh, I certainly think it's shaping behaviours in terms of getting people used to what flavour profile, their body's adjusting. And look, there's all sorts of studies to show that, our taste and flavour fatigue levels and how long that takes. And apparently we get new taste buds every 14 or 21 days. And there's so many different things out there. But in reality, if the first few things you have are really intensely sweet, we often hear that people are just so sick of sweet things. Even by the time they come out of hospital, they're actually just wanting real food or something that doesn't taste artificial or overly sweet. So I think it's a good way to set them up not to get sick of something.
Yeah, correct. And I think the tendency for these shakes and meal replacements is to have that really sweet taste to it, and that kind of mimic of something that's more of a treat, but it's actually meant to be a meal. And yes, it might have the nutritional makeup of a meal and the same amount of calories, but I think it's not education. And I think the long-term, outcomes that everyone's looking for when they finally make the decision to have surgery is change. And this is a beautiful way to bring it about, to help them to grasp and understand that, what's possible with good food and how good you can feel.
And in all honesty too, at university, nearly 20 years ago for me, we did learn that these particular products were nutritionally complete. So they were a replacement for real food. And then as you go on and you start practicing nutrition, you quickly learn that there is no replacement for real food. Real food is so much more than just the vitamins and minerals side of thing. You can get the vitamins and minerals. You actually need the living component, the food component at some point as well for our digestive system, for our gut microbiome. So those bars and shakes, bakes diets, there's some vitamins and minerals there, but that you can get from a tablet. What you can't get is the living components, the things that keep the cells alive, these phytochemicals, the colours, the fibre, the real part of the food. And that's something we haven't been able to bottle yet.
No, definitely can't replicate that. And in our group, on our Facebook group, we've been doing the 50 Foods Challenge, and every week we've introduced a different colour. So each week we talk about yellow or blue or, purple foods and the benefits that these foods bring just in what colour they are, let alone, what their actual makeup is. So eating the rainbow and, making sure that there's food on the plate is something that we're really focused on as well. And I think you're doing that brilliantly. Intolerances Are intolerances to different foods more common post-surgically? Do you find you have to cater for specific diets for people who've had weight loss surgery at all?
Oh, look, we certainly hear this, and whether it's a true food intolerance or whether it's just the gut playing up because the gut has had surgery. And in all honesty, I've had gut surgery. I didn't have bariatric surgery, but I had what they thought was a tumour in my bile duct, and I had Roux-en-Y surgery. So I can imagine it would be very similar to what's happened when people have had the bypasses and the Roux-en-Y. And my gut plays up sometimes with particular foods, but I'm not particularly intolerant to anything unless my gut's going through a phase where it's inflamed and it's not normal. And I feel like I can relate when I see the patients and they're talking to me about not being able to tolerate certain things. And I always persist and say it won't necessarily be forever. There's, your gut sometimes is more temperamental, or it's certainly inflamed after surgery for a long time. So it's about getting rid of that inflammation. And the best way to do that is plant-based foods. They do reduce the gut inflammation. So just persisting and having small amounts of things, and leave them when they're upsetting you, but don't think you can't ever have them again. Go back and try small amounts and reintroduce them.
Yeah, that's a great point, because 24 hours is a long time in somebody's body, isn't it, when we've just had that kind of interruption and change. And I think, you're right. We talk about people who are cutting out major food groups because they didn't respond well the first time. But go back and change that. And enzymatic activity and, all sorts of different things will reset in that period, the healing period. How long do you see this healing? How long do you classify that? Dependent on what the person is eating, I would imagine.
Yeah, look, the surgeon talks to me about the effects post-surgery, particularly even for that rapid sort of weight loss, that most of that happens within 2 years. So obviously the body is hyper-metabolic for this 2-year period. So it's not behaving the way that it used to behave for that 2-year period. And obviously everyone's an individual and everything in between. But in terms of inflammation in the gut, that's certainly going to be an individual response too, because some people handle trauma to their bodies really well and recover quickly, and other people don't. And what they're eating will have a huge impact on that. So if they're not having enough plant-based foods, then they're perhaps not actually able to counteract that inflammation, and it'll stay there a lot longer.
And are there particular foods that are really ideal for this inflamed state if it's recognised? What would you suggest in that area?
If there's, I guess always speaking to the healthcare professional in case there's something underlying it, because there could be another condition underlying it. But if everything is ruled out and it is just general unknown idiopathic sort of inflammation that's not related to any other condition that they can find, then it's about having that whole food diet and hoping that some of these phytochemicals and antioxidants have the power to sort of undo that. And, they talk about leaky gut syndrome, and the best way to correct that is with, the plant-based foods and help the gut to rebuild and be stronger, and dietary fiber. So there's a lot of research now on the gut microbiome and dietary fiber actually being able to act as a facilitator for healing the gut. And there's been plenty of studies for ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease in the lower parts of the gut, with fiber types being able to change bacteria. And we know that there's bacteria all the way up through the gut. So I think if we can eat the right sorts of foods and those high fiber foods and plant-based foods, then we'll promote the right type of gut bacteria and get rid of the pathogens that can be causing some of this inflammation as well, and certainly help the body recover and heal. And the fibers too release the short-chain fatty acids, and they're supposed to help the body recover as well, and particularly the gut cell lining. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Very restorative. And it's just the regularity of those, regular foods going in that provide the different types of fiber which help those different bacteria to colonize. It's kind of like crowd control. I always talk about, you have a party of great guys having a great time together and everything's going really well, and they're your good bacteria. And then you have these infiltrators who might try and gate crash. And if you've got enough of the good guys, these bad guys can't get in and can't set up camp. So overall, that regular, healthy eating and rich fiber diet certainly promotes that kind of crowd control. So overall, helping health and keeping out different pathogens that you don't want in your tummy. Thank you for that. It's quite interesting. And tell me a bit more about the different programs you actually offer with BeFit Foods.
Yeah, look, our key programs, what we call our Be Rapid program, and that's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack every day. It gives people all of the protein that they need. So they get their, 20 grams of protein at a minimum at each meal time, plus they get a maximum of 15 grams of carbs at each meal. It's slightly different with the vegetarian meals because they tend to be slightly higher in carb and lower protein, because plants don't have the same amounts of protein as your meat-based foods. But they're all portion controlled. They're all around that 250 calorie mark. So it means that an individual can choose anything from our range of over 70 products and just choose what they want to eat, not what they think they need to eat, because we've done all of the, the nutritional analysis and taken the guesswork out of it so that people can just eat what they want to eat and know they're putting the right thing in. We've got a huge range of healthy snacks too, because we know for people a lot of their problem is not at meal times, it's actually what to have in between meals. And there's a lot of advice out there to say don't snack in between meals, but if you are going to snack, you need to know what you should be having. And particularly, pre and post surgery, if you've got a small tummy or you've got a limited amount of food you consume, you need to make sure every mouthful counts. So all of our snacks are high in protein. They all have no added sugar. They're all low in carb, and they're all high in fiber, except the egg bites. They're just high in protein, not the fiber there. But everything else has got that good gut, the fiber that's going to help for that good gut health. And we use lots of novel ingredients that really help build a strong gut as well.
You've really taken the guesswork out of eating well after surgery. And I think, yeah, you're right. You're looking at the snacking for the options that are on offer for high protein snacks can be quite limited. And I think even if the program offers those ideas, it's just a wonderful way of diversifying your understanding of what's available and what's helpful. And no guesswork. I think it's lovely to know that at the end of the day, you've met your needs and not exceeded them, but also, yeah, it's totally balanced, and yeah, you've taken all the hard work out of it, that's for sure.
Well, and we see it as a way for a tool for people to use if they just need help. They might want to cook all their own meals and do it all themselves, but every now and then there's something comes up and you just don't have the time. So we're kind of that backup plan. You can leave a handful of meals in your freezer, and if you're getting home late or you don't have a particular ingredient or you just can't be bothered cooking, then you know you're making the right choice. Or perhaps on takeaway night, instead of getting actual takeaway, you could have our chili con carne and make it into a Mexican burrito or something with a low carb wrap, or you know, use our wholemeal beef lasagna as your takeaway option, put it with some fresh salad. So you don't have to, you know, you can use it in lots of other ways. And we've got thousands of people on our
that's a big handful.
Facebook foodies group who there's about 4,500 of them now that are on there chatting all the time, sharing their before and afters and their experiences on the program. And it's a private group, but it's a really intimate conversation, believe it or not, with that many people.
Yeah.
And they share all of their tips and tricks as to how they use the food and the snacks. And we get some great advice. Like, people use our high protein dim sims and put them in air fryers to make it like a, you know, a fried dinner on a takeaway night, or they get protein muffins. Like we're about to launch a double chocolate muffin, but we've got blueberry ones, carrot cake ones, banana and coconut, and they put them in their toasted sandwich makers, and you know, just clever things to make everything really special, really enjoyable, and feel like food that you look forward to.
Well, that's what you want as well, is, you know, you get that limited opportunity when you've got a tiny tummy. So we're all looking for yummy food, but also balanced and versatile too. I think it's great when you're in a stressful period to recognize that and think, I'm home from work late, or and you need that plan B to make sure that in those pressured times that those choices are still going to be supportive and keep your long-term goals in mind.
Yeah, and going back to we're all busy people, no matter whether we're stay-at-home mums, whether we're working or whatever we're doing, and there isn't a day that goes by, or certainly not a week, where you don't actually have time, believe it or not, to sit down and eat a meal or to even put something in the microwave. So you need to have healthy, quick things on hand that if you can't sit and really take the time to eat properly as you're supposed to, that at least you put the right thing in and it's going to get you through to the next meal. And that's often where people go wrong. They just don't have a backup plan.
And that's the time when those habits start to slip in and the regain. Around what time, do you see a regain in a percentage of patients, and at what sort of times do you see that sort of creep back in and as the time goes on from surgery?
Oh, look, using Jeff's references as the surgeon, he's often talking to people about different types of surgery or a second surgery or, you know, what isn't working at that 2-year mark, unfortunately. That tends to be a point in time where things just aren't as easy as they were. And, you know, it can happen at the end of the first year, but less likely. And people can get to 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've seen a few couples that have done it together and they've gone really well for a while. But then what they tend to find is, you know, one person will be doing really well and then the other person falls off the wagon, and then the other person's doing really well, and and they take it in turns as to who's going well and who's not. And that can end up in a situation where one person brings the other person down sometimes. And I mean, it's good when both people have gone for the surgery. They know what it feels like. They're on the journey together. But there's often a situation where a spouse doesn't really or doesn't always understand what it's like to go through what they're going through. And, oh, this won't hurt you, just have this. And they don't understand the tummy is so limited with what it can have. And a few of those little slip-ups can really undo some very hard work.
Yeah, that's right. I see a similar scenario with alcohol. When you're not drinking, everyone's encouraging you. What's wrong? Here, it's so much fun. Let's do this. So it's incredibly, socially, it's very different. And setting up those situations, I suppose, with, healthy alternatives that are fun and easy to do as well is important. So, yeah, that support network is very important as well. Yeah.
I must say, the food's good when the people that are on the program have run out of meals because everyone else in the family's eating it. And we get that email nearly once a day where someone has eaten their whole week's supply worth of their protein balls or their egg bites or their dim sims or whatever it is. So meals occasionally go missing, but the snacks always go missing.
So we know to double order the snacks, do we? Yeah. We've got stealthy teenagers in the house who I think they're well supervised, but I don't know when they're eating that food because it's simply just vanishing from the cupboard. So I'll know to be prepared for that.
Yeah, the peanutty protein balls, they're the ones that tend to go missing.
You have to hide them. Is there any secrets for where you put these special additions?
Hopefully the kids don't realise they're in the freezer. So I tend to find the kids raid the pantry and the fridge, but they don't always go looking in the freezer. So just hide them behind the peas and things like that, and you should be safe.
That's a good recommendation. Thank you. And so as far as this journey goes and what needs to be learned and new habits are formed, do you find that patients are provided with enough education and support throughout their journey?
Look, it is an individual situation too, because some people don't, on the onset of having the surgery, they don't think they want or need that support. So they may seek a service where it's optional to see a dietitian or someone about nutrition. And unfortunately, in the long term, they're the people that don't tend to do as well. And we see them at some point in time when they've relapsed or they've gone to go back for some other surgery. And that's because they didn't get that support or that education about what life looks like a year after the surgery or 2 years or 5 years later. And we find it's really powerful for the people that have had surgery just to check in once a season. So once every 3 months, and just be accountable to someone for not going back into old habits.
I think even for an unweight loss surgery patient, checking in and having an advocate or having that reset and front of mind thinking about your health is such a positive way to run your life, rather than the wheels have fallen off and something's broken and now we'll take this little wagon to go and get fixed. And that's the kind of, mindset that I think we need to bring to this platform, is that don't fix it when it's broken. It's a constant process of being reminded and excited and exploring and curious, because there's so much to learn about.
Absolutely. And I think that is always my motto with health in every aspect, that, spending that money on an appointment when you don't need it ends up being the best money you ever spent, because you never actually need it. You do it before anything goes wrong. And it's the same with going and seeing, whether it's your osteo, physio, chiro, whoever it is. You think, I don't need it, and you cancel an appointment. And sure enough, the week later or 2 weeks later, something goes wrong. And you think, if only I'd done that, that tune-up often helps. And I find that with people's diets is, if they go, I just don't think I need it at the moment, I'm going really well, often they're at the cusp of, running out of steam to keep going and doing what they're doing. And they just need ideas, innovation, fresh thinking to keep them inspired and enjoying eating well.
Yeah, that's a great point, I think. And it's just that constant process of the reminder and the touching base. And it's not I think a lot of people feel that if things aren't going so well and they go to talk to someone, they've failed, which that's really an important time to be open and keep that honesty and that, connection going, so that there's, room to improve it as well and learn from it, rather than, think that that's the end of the story and I give up. It's more of a, what can I learn from this period and what do I do when this happens next time, rather than, it's always going to happen and it's they give up.
It's so true, isn't it? And that's people, I guess, patients in their first few visits before they get to know the practitioner. They think they're always going to disappoint them, or they've done something wrong, they're scared of failing. But if they get to know their practitioner, they'll realise that practitioner is their net of support when they let go, and they need someone just to hang in there and get through with them and let them back up on that rope. And I think, for the patients, it's really important that they do have someone that can support them and they never feel like they've failed, because you only fail when you don't do anything about it, when you don't acknowledge it. That's true failure. If you ask for help, you haven't failed, because you're coming out of it. You've already made the step to improving it. So
yeah, and open to learning another way or having someone else's input to support you. I do see a lot of people who are trying to do it alone, and I always discourage that, because for this reason, it's so much more work to find out what you need to do on your own and stumble along the way, when even, taking on your program and having that as your learning is just such it's a shortcut. And I think if we can help with supporting that and getting them
and
to
we
understand.
offer the free dietitian support for anyone who goes on the program. Call up and chat to our dietitians or nutritionists for free. We don't charge for that. And that's really, the ethos of our company is you can't give someone a product without the support to help them succeed. So we offer that support, and not to take away from any of the clinical dietitians that are seeing the patients. We're happy to work with them, and the patients don't need to speak to us, but they need to know that we're there if they ever need it. And we're certainly happy to pass on the referrals, and we're trying to build a network on our website of different health professionals that we can refer all of the patients to, because we know people like to build a relationship and to follow up with someone. So we're trying to help them network who's in their area and understands both weight loss or bariatric surgery and understands what they're going through, because they get a lot of pushback from GPs particularly that aren't supportive of what they're trying to do, and they want someone who understands.
That's a great piece of knowledge, actually, to know that it's not only a food service where you're giving plant-based, healthy, protein-rich meals, but also, if you've got questions, there's somewhere to go, because I think that's a key to just even a small question or one little thing that can send you back off on a better tangent and keep you encouraged.
Send them an article or a recipe, or speak to their dietitian, because sometimes we do get it where sometimes it could be a diabetes educator or someone who says, I don't think this is the right program, or this could be dangerous, or this isn't for you. And we'll say, send them our details, and we're more than happy to, talk about, if you want to, openly talk about how we think it can help, and let them make the decision.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so you with your programs, it's not, every meal and every snack that you need to select as a full week of food. You can just choose snacks. Is that right? You can just choose from the range to tailor it to suit your needs.
Absolutely. So a lot of people just replace one meal a day or replace their snacks. If we talk about replacing the hardest meal of the day, where are you most likely to fall down? Where are you most likely to go wrong? If you, the night before you're planning out your day, and even when you put your plan away, you go, not sure if I'm actually going to get past 3 o'clock here. Plan for that 3 o'clock snack, or, if it's lunch, because you just don't eat lunch during the day, and that isn't the problem meal. It's the fact that you overeat in the evening. Well, then let us supply the lunch so that you don't overeat in the evening, and those good intentions
that's exactly
follow
right.
through.
And can patients call and discuss what they're looking for, and you can help guide them with, what you can see as not a norm, but, trends and things that can happen, and the best way to support that with the different selections from the website.
Absolutely. We do have a heap of different programs too. So some people will want 4 meals a day or 5 meals a day, or extra snacks during the day. Takes into account their activity levels, their starting weight, and what their goal weight is as well, or why they're doing the program. Yeah.
So comprehensive. It's wonderful. And it's, and where do you distribute your meals to? Is it Australia-wide? Tell me more about that.
So we're Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia and WA. So just not yet in the Northern Territory or Tassie. We had a moment where we were in Tassie, but there was issues with their ports. So we'll get back there at some stage.
We covered the whole of the country, and I believe
Really?
you visited the Shark Tank at some point too, didn't you? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And of course, put you on a different trajectory pretty much overnight. Is that right?
Yeah, so our business grew 1,500% overnight after being on Shark Tank. We went from a team of 5 people to 63 in 4 weeks. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, we knew that it was a bit of a secret in that we had something that actually worked, and it worked for more than the majority of people. Anyone who sticks to the program actually gets results, and we know that because we ask them. And we didn't expect the reaction that we got on TV because we thought, well, how many people are actually looking for this? But we certainly got much more of a reaction than we ever imagined. So we've been riding on that for 3 years now, and the business is just going from strength to strength because we've got that ability now to be able to keep innovating, keep changing the products and the menu and keeping people happy. Whereas without that initial growth, it's very hard to get the ball rolling to, come up with 70 different products and constantly be updating the menu. And that's something that takes a big team to pull together
absolutely.
every month. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the data and the number crunching that you would have put into every single meal, I just can't believe the amount of effort that's gone into the planning stages. How long did it take you to put these ideas together?
It was probably 2 years of working towards it, and then always like studying for an exam, that last 3 months of just cram and getting it to food labs, having it all tested and doing all of those bits and pieces that you never realized was a part of the process until it got to launching date. And then there's all these other things you need to do with accreditations and HACCP and all of that.
Yeah, the food standards in Australia are very high, and I can't imagine what you've done to run every meal.
Unbelievable.
It's incredible. Yeah. So I think it's a product we can certainly rely on and trust when it's been run through so many different little hurdles along the way to tick off and cross off. And so to find out more about your programs and your support, what do people need to do?
Just go to befitfood.com.au and there's a contact us page if you want to ask a question. We've got an online chat during business hours, so you can just type a question in the chat box. We've got a phone number there. You can call and chat to us. And we've also got a link that goes directly to our dietitian's calendar, and you can book a free appointment in with the dietitian and have an online meeting and find out what program's right for you, or just whether it's something that you're interested in, because let's face it, not everything suits everybody. But if you like healthy food, and it is basically meat and veggies with herbs and spices and low sodium, no sugar. So it will taste different to a Chinese takeaway meal, but it will taste nice, just different. And that's something some people aren't used to. The first time they eat it, they go, I think it's bland. And then funnily enough, by 2 to 4 days into it, they go, the food's really good. And we're like, hang on day one, we asked you what you thought of it and you weren't sure. Oh no, I love it now.
It's
and
amazing.
Their taste buds and their expectation of when they eat a wholemeal beef lasagna, what they think it should taste like and what it tastes like on day one don't always match, but by day 3 or day 4 they're loving it. So
that's incredible. And I think you're right, like when we do take all these additional additives out of the food, people will feel like there's something missing. And I'm at the point in my life where if it's in there and there's additives, I pick it up straight away, and it's just not, it doesn't give you that enjoyment like a real food can do. And I think it doesn't take long for that transition to take place.
I must say exactly the same. A long time ago now, when I was on an aeroplane, certainly not in the last 6 months, I had an aeroplane meal and it looked nice and I started eating it and it was horrible. And I was like, what's wrong with this? To the point where it was really challenging to eat it. And I was like, what have they done that has made it so unnatural? And that's something that we are just all for fresh food, and hence why we snap freeze the food, because it means we don't need a gas it. We don't need all the preservatives and things that you need to add to food to maintain shelf life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the freezing has actually been shown to lock in a lot of nutrition for cut vegetables and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's a better option if you've got the time for it. Yeah,
absolutely.
It sounds like a wonderful and very interesting journey for you.
Thank you.
And do you have anything you would like to add?
No, I'm just very pleased to be invited as a guest, and good luck for anyone who's listening on their journey. And hopefully we get to meet you at some stage at BeFit Food.
Yes, well done, and congratulations on the success of your business. I know you've worked extremely hard, and at the moment under extremely unusual conditions, being based in Melbourne, so still got a smile on your face, and I think that's just remarkable and a testament to your resilience and personality. So good on you.
Thank you, Jacqui.
Thanks for your time today. It's been wonderful to chat with you. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks for listening, and just before you go, we would love to hear your feedback, so please give us a rating and review. For other interesting topics of conversation and inspiration, come and drop into our Facebook community at BN Bariatric. If you've enjoyed our podcast, we hope you will share on your Facebook or Instagram and hit subscribe so you'll never miss an episode.